Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now, today I want to talk about something that I've been asked a lot, not necessarily on YouTube, but in my personal life, and that is, how do you get the most out of using your iPad and your Mac together, and why do you need both? So today I will be talking about how I use my iPad and my MacBook together to be the most productive version of myself. And I know there is a heck of a lot of crossover between these two products. My wife is not necessarily a technophobe, but a lot of the time she says to me, well, isn't the iPad just a mini computer? And if you're using the keyboard case on your iPad, surely it kind of takes the place of your Mac, or does your Mac not just make the iPad obsolete? And I completely get it. Like I said, there's a lot of crossover between these two products, but I use them in completely different ways. So I wanted to talk to you today about how I use my iPad and my Mac and really sync them together in harmony, because I feel like there's a really fine line where you can walk a tightrope and make perfect use of both of these devices together without them stepping on each other's toes. And of course, the first thing you can do with your iPad is use it as a secondary monitor. Now, there is something built into the iPad called Sidecar, and essentially it allows you to put your iPad next to your MacBook and use it as a secondary external display. Now, this is really useful for anybody who doesn't own a portable monitor, because it allows you to take your iPad out with you and have a secondary monitor wherever it is that you're working. If you're in a coffee shop, at an airport, or a restaurant, let's say for example, and you just need some extra screen real estate in a pinch, you can pull your iPad out, sit it next to your MacBook, and use your MacBook trackpad or mouse and keyboard to essentially control both screens. And I've done this plenty and plenty of times where I've just needed some extra real estate, and I'm able to drag a program straight over onto my iPad, use it as a secondary screen, compare things side by side. Now, there are some limitations, obviously, due to the fact that the iPad is a smaller 11-inch screen, but that does mean that it's really portable and easy to carry around. And the chances are you're already carrying your iPad around with you anyway if you're out and about. So it's sort of a two-in-one deal, where your iPad functions as maybe your media device while you're working, but then also can be a productivity machine when you want to use it as an additional monitor for your MacBook. Another thing I really like to do with my iPad is, whenever I'm on a meeting on my MacBook, I'll use my iPad as a note-taking device, similar to how you would have sort of a notebook and a pen with you. I like to do it on the iPad. My app of choice is GoodNotes, and the reason why I like GoodNotes so much is because it's downloadable on your MacBook too, which means all of your notes that you take on your iPad can really easily be accessed on your MacBook. Now, GoodNotes has some additional features on there, especially for handwriting, that you don't get from the standard Apple Notes app, which is why I use a third-party app. Generally, I like to stay to the Apple software, things like Pages and such. But honestly, GoodNotes is such a good app. I have the paid variation of GoodNotes, and it is so inexpensive, but it allows you to have multiple different notebook setups, which you can use for different things like work, home notes, or even if you've got a specific project that you're working on. So when I was planning a trip for my 30th birthday, I had a specific notebook for that trip. And then when I was scrolling through and searching different holiday options on my MacBook, I was able to write notes about them on my iPad. And I was even able to view the notebook on my MacBook to insert screenshots and other things that I was able to then annotate on my iPad. So for handwritten notes, obviously, that's the iPad's bread and butter. I've got a USB-C Apple Pencil with my iPad, and it really does go hand in hand. So handwritten notes, always on the iPad. If you're someone like me who prefers to handwrite your notes, I just find that they stick in my brain a little bit better. I think you'll really enjoy this combination. And the iPad being a sort of smaller device, you're able to sort of hold it in your arm and write down notes just like you would with a normal notepad. So I would definitely recommend, if you're a note taker, if you have both of these devices, utilize the features. The MacBook doesn't have a touchscreen, you're not able to use a pen with it. So you can utilize the iPad for handwriting those notes and keeping them locked up in your brain just for that little bit longer. And then we've got the obvious, which is the fact that your iPad can function as a mini MacBook. With iPad OS 26, it really does allow you to use your iPad in ways that you've never used it before. And sometimes having a little bit of overlap is not necessarily a bad thing. If I'm not able to take my MacBook with me, I can just take my iPad with me instead and do a lot of the things that I would do on my MacBook on my iPad. For example, if I've got little bits of video editing to polish up on, hey, I can do that on my iPad. If I want to write out an email, yeah, I can do that on my iPad. Or even if I want to write scripts for these videos, yeah, I can do that on my iPad. So it gives me a lot of freedom to have both of these products. And with the Apple ecosystem, anything that you do on one of your devices just carries so seamlessly onto your other devices. So there really is no uploading and downloading of files. Everything's just there. I use my iCloud drive on my MacBook and everything is available for me to use on my iPad. So it does really give you a more portable version of all of your files to be able to take out and about with you wherever it is that you're going. And a lot of the time when you're traveling, you don't necessarily have space to take both devices with you. And the iPad functions as both a media machine and a workhorse when you need it. So having both of them together just gives you that extra bit of freedom, and it's not necessary. Everybody knows that if you have the choice between the two, you should probably take the MacBook. It's far more powerful, far more cost effective, and generally allows you to have a little less restriction in terms of what you can do with the performance. But the iPad gives you versatility, gives you mobility, and it allows you to just travel around a little bit more and traverse a little bit more and still have a lot of the features that you would have on your MacBook. So I would say another feature and another reason to have both of these things side by side is just the versatility to work in whichever way suits you. If you're someone who enjoys working at the desk, you have something to work at the desk. If you're someone who needs to work on the go, you've got something that works on the go. And you can travel and mix and match between these really seamlessly thanks to Apple's software. Apple have also built in a bunch of other features to make working seamlessly between two devices even more efficient. If you copy something to your clipboard on your iPad, you can paste it on your MacBook. If you open an app on your iPad, you can open that same app where you left off on your MacBook. And if you use any of the apps, notes, text messages, any of those, they'll also be available on your MacBook. So Apple really has made the transition between devices really, really seamless. And it's something that makes owning multiple Apple devices even more interesting because you can do the same things with your phone, you can do the same thing with your iPad, with your MacBook, or with your Mac desktop or Mac mini as well. So they really have just made it so simple, so convenient to own multiple Apple devices. And when you're doing things that require multiple functions at once, so a lot of the time if I'm doing research, I might have something open on my MacBook, I find an extract or a segment that I would like to copy over to my MacBook, and just with a simple Command C on the keyboard and then Command V on my MacBook, I can seamlessly bring that across and onto my other device. So I can work simultaneously with these two devices, and I often do work simultaneously with these two devices so that they are their own separate device with their own separate processing power and their own separate work streams, but they can come together very easily. And again, as someone who loves tech, it's a tech lover's dream to be able to have your MacBook and your iPad side by side and to just be pinging things backwards and forwards between the two. Because sometimes you need those two separate work streams open, and it's a lot easier than flicking between different tabs with Command Tab that you would do if you just have one device. So double the devices in this case, I feel, means double the productivity. Whether that's just me trying to justify it to myself or not, that's the way it's been working for me. I've found so much additional productivity, so much saved time, and just so much separation of my ideas that can come together so seamlessly that it has really improved my output significantly. So if you are somebody that has both of these devices, I would urge you to not see them as two separate things that you use at two separate times, but try and bring them together in the same way that you would use maybe a dual monitor system like I have behind me for when I'm working. You can do the same thing with your MacBook and your iPad, and then you've got the additional creative touches of things like handwriting your notes or annotating different things on the iPad, and you can bring it all together and create one beautiful idea or one project, and it's fantastic. So I found a lot of success with that. I would highly recommend, if you have both an iPad and a MacBook, trying to tie them together in the way that you use them and be creative. A lot of the time, our limitations is with our creativity. So try and be creative with the two devices. Try to annotate things more, because I'm the type of person as well that is very, or was, I used to be very type things out, and very function and very stationary in the way that I worked. I didn't really get outside the box. And as soon as I put these two devices together, I found I was able to really get outside the box. I was pulling screenshots from one place and pinging them onto the other, and then annotating them and taking other screenshots and pinging it back. And it allowed me to really just expand the way that I thought about my work and create this sort of open work area, which has just, like I said, and I know I've said it a few times, but it just really benefited me and really allowed me to be a lot more productive with my work. So there we go. That's how I use both my iPad and my MacBook to create one seamless workspace, increase my productivity, increase my workflows, and just generally feel a lot more enjoyment when I work. If you have both an iPad and a MacBook, let me know down below in the comments section below. And also let me know how you use your Apple devices together to create more of a seamless working environment. If you're somebody who uses a different ecosystem or a different way of working, I'm really eager to hear about that as well. So let me know in the comments section below, and we can have some conversation around the products that you use. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.